Sorry, Debbie, what was that?
I was just going to be funny and say, by kicking it to Harold, does that mean I get to kick Harold?
Sure. Lightly.
Please don't do that.
No, buddy, I won't give you.
Good morning. We'll give just another minute for folks to come on. Good morning. A couple more folks are coming on. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy Friday. We are in our June Habitat Learn and Ask, where we are joined by Kris Fountain, our VP of Family Services, Debbie O'Hanley from Hope House Foundation, and Harold Rice from the Ada Jenkins Center, who are going to be talking today a little bit about the work that they do and the impact that they make on families in our community. And so we have a lot of information to share this morning, and we'll hopefully have some time at the end for any questions. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Kris, and thank you again for being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. And I just want to thank Harold and Debbie for joining me and taking time out of your busy schedules. Just in a nutshell, before I even talk about what I do specifically, and not just me myself, but I am been blessed to have a team of folks within the Habitat Charlotte region, particularly in family services, that are totally and truly committed to our mission. And I always start everything off of our mission because it quite frankly centers me as well as everybody else, and it reminds us of what we do and why we do it. But it's simply put, it's seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity of Charlotte region brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. About 3.5 years ago, my direct report did something that was probably the most important thing that he could have done for me, is he made me memorize this mission statement. And I often put emphasis on the first 7 words, seeking to put God's love into action. And what better way to express God's love? We have that opportunity to do that through our primary services, which is our home buyer program, as well as our critical home repair programs. And so we're all about serving individuals and serving communities, particularly in the northern region area. And that's what we're really here to talk about. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about what we're all about. Within our Department of Family Services Department, we have a mantra for this year, which it says to, we actually look at to share, prepare, educate, and advocate. Share, prepare, educate, and advocate. We're sharing our stories, we're sharing our programs, we're preparing our individual and families for home ownership. The worst thing that we could do is to put our families in a position where they own a home but still have a renter's mentality. So that's where the preparation comes from. And through that preparation, we also have and we leverage our education programs. We have programs that are for people who are ready for home ownership, who go through our programs, through our HIP classes. That's HIP stands for home ownership, homeowners in process. But then we also realize that there are some people who have significant barriers to home ownership, and we try to put them into our Money Matters class. And you don't have to go through through our program in order to be a part of our Money Matters program. It's for everybody. It's for the entire public. And then lastly, we advocate. We believe in advocating for our individuals and our homeowners. Oftentimes we have to be their voice. Oftentimes they are the traditionally underserved. So we make sure that we serve them and we represent them accordingly. With all that being said, one of the things that we're looking at for going into this year is to really reintroduce and rebuild and realign our partnerships. We've got Harold here with who serves as the executive director for Ada Jenkins, and we also have Debbie O'Hanley here, who also serves as the executive director for Hope House Foundation Incorporated. And so we're really, looking to reintroduce ourselves to the northern region. We've had an opportunity through the pandemic and through our merger where we have the opportunity to realign ourselves with partners like them. And so I want to thank them once again for all the work that they do. And you're going to hear more about all the good things that they do here momentarily. But in closing, what I like to just finish off and say is that I want to talk a little bit about our critical home repair, because I know a lot of people know about our home buyers program, but they may not know a lot about our critical home repair program. And that is essentially for long-term homeowners who essentially have a need either repair or replace something within their house. So these are homeowners who are in need of repair or replacement of some kind, whether it is a roof replacement, whether it's heating or air conditioner replacement, or even if it's a repair, you have to repair the electrical work or the plumbing work. These are the two core programs that we have, particularly within family services, that we do to, as it says back in our mission statement, to seek ways to express God's love. And so we try to do that with the most integrity as possible. We try to do it the best that we can to our ability. Yes, sometimes we fall short, and we admit that, and that is just areas for where we can actually grow. But we're certainly committed to not only the Mecklenburg County, but also the Iredell County, in terms of what we call that. We refer to that as our northern region. For those of you who don't know, there was a merger between Our Town's Habitat and Habitat Charlotte that took place right in the middle of the pandemic. And so our service areas now is the majority of Mecklenburg County and all of Iredell County. So we're here and we're looking forward to serving everybody in these two great counties.
All right.
So what I'm sorry, Kristen. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to actually pass the mic, so to speak, to Debbie O'Hanley, who serves as the executive director for Hope House Foundation Incorporated. So thank you, Debbie, for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I get so much pleasure out of being able to be with my community partners again in this world when hope hasn't been in the headlines for a very long time. So what I like to say is hope, what does that mean? It's a gift that's invisible, but yet can be seen. And here we are, Kris, Harold, me, and the rest of the community. We are making hope happen, and we're delighted to be a part of this. So the Hope House is located in Huntersville. We are a 12-bed shelter for women and children in our community who are facing a crisis and experiencing housing insecurity and housing instability. I always like to say that homelessness, it's not an identity, but it's a circumstance. So a circumstance has happened in their life to create some instability and some pretty traumatic things that are happening. And so we partner with folks like Harold and his amazing staff at Ada Jenkins to provide a wraparound service model of delivering hope and supportive services to them so that they can get back up on their feet and get back to finding employment, working through some of those mental health crises, addressing some of their financial obstacles. So the Hope House was the idea of a private physician, Dr. Lebeth Lindquist, who back in 2004 saw the need in the community to create a place where women could hit the reset button. And since that time, we've serviced over 385 families. And we celebrate a 100% success model of transitioning our families from crisis into stability. And I think of my partners here that are with me. We couldn't do that without Harold and his amazing staff. And we couldn't do that without our friends at Habitat. We have a couple of incredible success stories of some families who went all the way through our program who now live in Habitat homes. And so when we think of the word home, we fundamentally think about stability and what that means to each of us. So I want to just thank everybody that's gathered here too for helping us make that happen. We are really, really excited about the next phase of our programming. 3 years ago, we came together as a team, Habitat, Ada Jenkins, and Hope House, and thought about what would collaboration look like to create a program to provide our families with more stability. So we created a program called Hope to Home, and essentially the way that it works is a family comes to Hope House, they're in crisis, they achieve that stability within 6 months' time of finding employment and starting to address some of those obstacles and barriers that they had that kept them down before. And if they make that great, courageous step and achieve stability, we can now offer them more progressive housing with cottages that are currently being built on our property. They are named Faith, Joy, and Grace. It's a partnership with our friends at Ada Jenkins and Ingersoll Rand and Train that have helped us to build these 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes that will allow single families to live on them while still receiving supportive services on site. We have one other home in our community in Davidson that we've been practicing stepping out what this Hope to Home model looks like, and she will leave us on Tuesday, having purchased her first home. So we will move another family into that, and I'm super excited to also say that the town of Huntersville has given us some lots that will currently build 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths with our neighbors from Habitat in that community, and going to step that out to see how we can make more hope happen together. So having said that, I'm delighted to kick it over to my friend Harold, who is in this business of making hope happen with us, and I'm delighted to be on the journey with him.
Thanks, Debbie, for passing that over. I absolutely love Hope House Foundation and the work that they're doing, and I absolutely love the work that Kris and Habitat has been doing in the North. And what Debbie described is basically we formed our own continuum of services, if you will. And so individuals are touching each and every one of us. I'm absolutely ecstatic about that. Our mission is that we exist to help people create lasting solutions for economic stability. Kris, that mission is a little shorter than Habitat, and so I can memorize that fairly easily, but it's also something that I can get behind. That's kind of been my life's work. Next slide, please. The Ada Jenkins Center was started by Miss Ada Jenkins, and she was a community leader. And she fought for these students, the children in Davidson, and it was once called the school, Davidson School for the Colored. And when we renamed it, it was renamed the Ada Jenkins Center. So people wonder how we got our name. Miss Ada Jenkins was an advocate in our community. Next slide. Our history, again, from the 30s and the 60s, it was called Davidson Colored School, or we named Ada Jenkins Center School. And then in the 70s, we use it as a community center because desegregation happened and there was no need for a separate school for color. And then in 98, building renovated and opened as a nonprofit. And so, again, here we are as the Ada Jenkins Center. The red doors are synonymous with the logo. So our services have tweaked a bit. Our core services is what we call economic mobility, and alluded to as a wraparound services. And here you have several specialty coaches. One is a mobility mentor, who is a social worker who will help you navigate your journey with wraparound services, with a housing coach whose job is to focus on tenancy education, help with understanding the lease, help with inspections, move in or move out, housing searches, relocation, anything that relates to housing integrity. The housing coach is there for. Financial coach, again, to help with simple savings and budgeting plans, so that you can be hopefully passed on one day to Habitat for that home ownership, education, and counseling piece. And employment and education coach, again, just making sure that people have the resources to have employment, or resources to employment, as well as education if GED is your goal, or ESL, making sure we connect those dots there. Early on, we had a youth, in our youth education this year, we had a pandemic pod. We hopefully won't have that this year because we won't be in COVID, but it was important for us to make sure that the children that we serve and the parents that also work in these programs have a safe place for their children to go and learn. That's not intimidating, and they can navigate the CMS remote learning. And so we created that pandemic pod. It was really successful. Our LearnWorks program is our after school program. We had about 60 kids in the LearnWorks program, and we're looking to grow that. Again, that's helping children who are a grade or sometimes 2 grades behind in their schooling. And so we want to make sure that they get up to grade level. Adult education, as I alluded to, we have classes for GED, partnering with CPCC there, and ESL, and some other skills workshops with other partner agencies such as Goodwill and Charlotte Area Fund. Next slide, please. Our services also include our food pantry, what I call our little mini bodega. You know, this is something that continued to thrive during COVID. And so we partner with Loaves and Fishes to continue to serve people with dignity and respect as they need food and meals. This year, we embarked on a VITA tax service, volunteer income tax assistance. So if your household income is $57,000 or less, we're preparing your taxes free at no cost. And we did that in 2 locations, in Huntersville and as well as Davison. And I also failed to mention that our catchment is also Huntersville, Davison, and Cornelius. This year, we have a mobile dental bus clinic, but it's actually a new partnership. In the past, it was just Ada Jenkins solely running that, but COVID has taught us a lot that we should really partner where we're not as strong. And so Lake Normie Community Clinic and Matthews Free Travel Clinic, we all come together to get the mobile dental bus back up and running, and we've renamed it Our Smiles actually as of yesterday. And this bus is for uninsured individuals and families for routine cleanings, fillings, and make referrals to specialty work. And so we're excited to get that up and running in July, and more news to come there. Next slide, please. Again, our focus areas are the 3 towns. We do have a small population in Iredell, but our focus area is Huntersville, Cornelius, and Davison. At some point, hopefully, we'll get back into Iredell County with other services. Next slide. And again, our volunteers are the heartbeat of who we are. We wouldn't be able to do anything without the volunteers. We have tutors for the children, people come in to organize school supplies. We stock in the pantry, cleaning and prep, and other events. We had a Juneteenth event that we just had last Saturday. Kris was there as well. Thank you for coming out, Kris. First annual Juneteenth event. We had over 250 individuals, fed the community free. And so, again, wouldn't be able to do anything that in this community without the great work of the volunteers. And last slide. Our impact last year, we're finalizing our numbers for this year, but wow, you know, we are just grateful for the support of our staff and the community to serve individuals as we do. Serve nearly 1,500 with group groceries and food, and nearly a little over 900 individuals in our employment and our economic mobility services, and nearly 200 uninsured patients. So again, just due to COVID, we've had so many referrals for crisis or critical needs that we think that unfortunately we'll continue doing those and paying rents. But at some point, you know, we consider ourselves the guardrails of the North, meaning that if you're driving up 77, you have the guardrails, and so they're there so you won't fall off the embankment. That's what we consider ourselves here in the North. I consider this group, this collaborative group, the safety net, so people don't fall below and fall out. And so together we can come together and make sure that they don't fall off the embankment or even fall below that as a safety net. That's it for me. Kris, I'll turn it over to you or Kristen. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Harold. I'm going to come back on. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information. Harold, you kind of covered ways that folks can support Ada Jenkins through volunteering. So Debbie, can you talk a little bit about, and Kris too, ways for folks to support, whether through volunteerism or financially?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work off of the same model as Harold, with volunteers are the heart of the Hope House. We could not do what we do without them. So we use our volunteers to serve in the house, to make meals, answer the phone, you know, help us out with keeping the yard up. We are a 4,000 square foot home on 4 acres, and we can always use helping hands that can come alongside of us and help us make some hope happen. Obviously, financial is always something that we want to do. Every dollar makes a difference, from the child that has a lemonade stand to the big corporations that have dollars, so that we can make more hope. You know, with dollars, we turn into housing stability. And without them, we can't service all that this need is requiring of us these days. So we're getting ready. We know that when the moratorium on evictions gets lifted, that we're going to be facing an onslaught of folks that are going to need us even more. So we're taking this time to be prepared, and more volunteers means more hope.
Well, just to echo what Debbie and Harold has said, and I kind of summarize when it comes to needs for Habitat Charlotte region, I summarize it this way: the 3 T's, which is basically time, talent, and treasure. We can all use that. And in terms of time, again, as has already been said, our volunteers are the heartbeat of what we do. There's no way in the world any of us as organizations could actually survive without our volunteers. And so for Habitat, there are a number of different ways you can volunteer. It's not just simply at a construction site, but you can also volunteer at our restores as well, because everybody's not that crafty when it comes to a hammer. So there are other opportunities in other ways. When I talk about talent, I think that all of us can always are always in the need of more talent in terms of people coming on either our board or even our subcommittees. And there's always an open invitation, if you will, at least at Habitat Charlotte region, for talent. And then lastly, the 3rd T is treasure. And that's just, funds and donations, corporate sponsorships and things of that nature. Those are the 3 T's. And again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I'm sure at Ada Jenkins, as well as Hope House Foundation, that probably summarizes what we always need as nonprofit organizations. One thing I will say lastly here is that I've had the privilege and honor of knowing Harold for a very, very long time. And I just want to publicly acknowledge you and your leadership and everything that you've done, not just at Ada Jenkins, but you have really paved the way, and you have really paid your dues, even in the position that you're in. And so I'm happy. I celebrating your success at Ada Jenkins, but I know, and I've known you for at least 10 years, and I want everybody else to know that when it comes to Harold, he's not a new kid on the block. And I say that as a compliment, Harold. But he has the experience, he has the passion, and when he says that this is his life's work, that is not an exaggeration. So Debbie, I'm sure just knowing you for the first time, I can probably say the same thing about you. And I hope that I get to know you as well as I know Harold.
Absolutely, Kris. And I piggyback off of that with Harold. He immediately came into our community, and I breathed a sigh of relief, because I said he's just what we were longing for and needing such as a time as this. So absolutely. I'm delighted to be a partner with him and come alongside of him and make that impact in our community. And I neglected to say in my talk that we have a current family in the Hope to Home program right now who leaves us in August, having built her Habitat home. So this is how this partnership works, right? You come to us in crisis, we get you stable with the hope of Harold, and the hope is that they'll all find their permanent home with Habitat. So I think that the 3 of us and the 3 of our organizations can just begin to really breathe a sigh of relief and weave those threads of hope for our folks experiencing crises. That you got 3 strong players, right, Harold? I'm on your team too, so we're gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
Team Harold.
I totally agree. Look, I totally agree, and I'm going to pay both of you guys as soon as we get off this call for those little comments. I again enjoy working with the both of you. You guys are phenomenal. Kris, as you mentioned, we go way back, and our passion goes back as well. And Debbie, when I came here, opened her arms to me, and kept it real, and I can really, really appreciate that. And so I'm going to enjoy her continued mentorship and leadership as well, as we all 3 partner in the North to make hope happen for everyone. So
absolutely
awesome.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. We don't have any more questions, but thank you again for sharing all of this information, for more of what you do. Thank you for what you do. I'm excited for us to keep this conversation going. And thanks for everybody for joining us today. This has been recorded, so you'll see a recording in the email. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for being here, for everyone for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.